Hello and welcome to A Slice of Life with me, Eugene Low, for your dose of DIY motivation. And yes, ultimately we do have to do it for ourselves, but fortunately we can get some help from other people as well. To share some perspectives with us today is my guest, Angie Chew Monksfield, who is the founder of Brahm Centre. It's a charity that promotes happy and healthy living, and the centre was launched in 2012, serving over 2,000 members with a wide range of health and mental resilience programs. They offer counselling services as well, mindfulness development, which is what we're talking about today, and yoga classes as well. You can find out more information over at brahmcentre.com. It's BRAHM Centre.com. Now, mindfulness, it's something that's gaining a lot of traction, a lot of momentum in the sphere of psychology in the past couple of years as well. It's really skyrocketed. But the idea of mindfulness, at least the basic idea, I think has been proffered for many decades now. In fact, I mean, as far back as in the 1940s, when Abraham Maslow came up with that hierarchy of needs, right, the very famous hierarchy of needs. At the very top of self-actualization, he actually mentioned things like lack of prejudice and acceptance of facts, which is very much at the heart of mindfulness, isn't it, Angie?
Yes, indeed, Eugene. Mindfulness has always been a practice in many ancient traditions, and now becoming very popular. I think it has everything to do with Dr. John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts that has introduced it into the medical school, and it's now pervading around the world as a proven scientifically and has evidence to show how mindfulness can enhance the well-being of a person. And it's not just the brain, but the other parts of the body, because, I mean, after all, the mind is very much connected to the rest of the body. So what is mindfulness? I mean, a lot of people ask. In short, it can be described as sustained attention and awareness. Because so often when we're living, we're not really living in the present moment. Our mind is either in the past over some regrets and guilt-ridden event, or worrying about the future, what's going to be happening, how are things going to turn out, is so-and-so going to die on us? Are we going to get cancer? Or do we have enough money to retire?
Yes.
So that sort of thinking ends up being very stressful, and therefore causes us a lot of medical problems.
Yeah, the mind can be a very unwieldy and very temperamental thing, right? If you don't rein it in, it can really wander all over the place.
Yes, that's why they have a term for it called a monkey mind. It's like something that can't stay still. A monkey can't stay still. It's always on the move and move. And it's
And of course, that's the famous saying, how the idle mind is somebody's workshop, right?
Well, it's not really an idle mind. It's what you call a still mind.
Yes.
So that is a rather different way of looking at it.
Well, what I mean is that if you leave your mind idle, as in if you don't practice mindfulness, yes, it can fall into the wrong hands, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah, there's people who say that.
Before we go into more details, though, let me just ask you, how did you yourself, come to be aware of this practice of mindfulness?
Well, I think I was aware that happiness, it's rather transient and also elusive. When you grow up, people tell you that, when you finish your primary school and you go to secondary school, you'll be happy. So do your exams well. And then when you do your exams well in secondary school, when you go to university, you'll be happy. And after that, you'll be happy when you find a boyfriend, and then you'll be happy when you get married. Because each time you think you've reached your destination or goal, that happiness only lasts for so long.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was probably more to life than this happiness that people preach about, which is elusive.
It's just kind of like postponing it, to a future time which may not happen.
Yes, or either happiness only lasts for days or months, and after that it dissipates, and then you look for a next goal to aim for in order to be happy. Yeah,
we learn quite quickly, how fleeting, this kind of joy can be. Right?
Yes, including, a person who buys a $2,000 handbag thinks that, wow, this is what I've been working for. I'm so lucky now I can get this bag. And how long did that happiness last?
Yes, and to the person who queued up for 2 days to get that new phone, probably now after a couple of weeks, has begun to throw it around already.
Yes, and then it was waiting for the iPhone 7.
Yes, it's very natural. It happens to all of us, yeah. But and we quickly become disillusioned because if it keeps happening again and again, and we like come and think about it, we think, why is life so meaningless? Why is happiness so difficult to grasp and hold on to, right? So that causes a lot of resentment, both for ourselves and for other people, for life in general. Yeah. So we're talking about how this kind of mindfulness can help us mitigate that feeling of disillusionment of why this world is this way, right?
Indeed.
I'm chatting today with Angie Chew Monksfield, who is the founder of Brahm Centre, a charity that promotes happy and healthy living. Do find out more on Facebook or go to BrahmCentre.com. They do all sorts of good work, helping people to maintain their health and mental resilience. They do counseling as well. Of course, mindfulness also. We'll continue to chat with Angie about how mindfulness works, how it has benefited her, how it can benefit all of us as well, and get her to explain more about what mindfulness means. It can be quite confusing to people who may not be familiar with it, I suppose. But we'll get Angie to share more of her thoughts in just a bit here on A Slice of Life Hour with me, Eugene Loh. Do stick around. You're listening to A Slice of Life Hour with me, Eugene Loh, here on 938 Live. Thank you very much for joining me here today. Today, we're talking about mindfulness, which Wikipedia defines as the intentional, accepting and non-judgmental focus of one's attention on the emotions, thoughts and sensations occurring in the present moment. Very short sentence, but so many key words there. Intention. That's very important. Acceptance, non-judgment, and the present moment as well. Those are all key factors in the practice of mindfulness. And it's being deployed in psychology to alleviate a whole range of mental and physical conditions, increasingly gaining momentum worldwide as well, to increase our mental wellness. And Angie Chew Monksfield is here to share more about her experience with mindfulness and how we can practice it more in our lives. Angie is founder of Brahm Centre, a charity that promotes happy and healthy living. More information over at BrahmCentre.com. That's BRAHM Centre.com. All right, Angie, tell us more about your experience with mindfulness. Some of the people that mindfulness development is one of the key things that's being taught in Brahm Centre.
Yes, indeed.
What sort of areas can it be?
Well, if I may just share, I was kind of late getting to this studio just now, and you didn't see me coming in huffing and puffing and all
I was quite
panicky.
Amazed how composed you were. So, whew, all right.
And that is really mindfulness in practice, is just to be in the present moment. When I was driving here and says, okay, there's nothing I can do. I just make sure I stay focused on the road and drive safely to get here. And then getting through the reception, changing my passes and stuff is just being in the present moment. And when you're walking here, just say, I'm walking, and not think about the future. Like, oh my gosh, I'm late. Oh my gosh, I need to walk faster. Is this kind of thinking that provides the stress to us and affects our body.
Yes, not to mention, the risk we put ourselves in, because you brought a very good example as well, because if your mind was being distracted by thoughts about not making it here on time, then you might not stay safe on the roads. You might miss that, you might run that red light or something.
Right. Or crash into somebody thinking that he's going to beat the red light and I was going to follow right behind him, but he decides to stop.
Yeah.
So it's not to get into the panic mode comes from thinking.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm late. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't be here. I needed to be. I should have left later. And there's a lot of I should have in life that causes us to stress out.
Yeah.
Because as one great man has said, life is ineffable. You can if you had done this, if only I had known, if only I had not done that. And when the mind gets into this circle of thinking, that causes us the stress that we talk about that is hard to cope with. We're not talking about the normal pressures of stress where it's in fact a bit healthy because it allows us to propel ourselves faster in our work, become more efficient. But it's the incessant thinking that sometimes even deprives us of sleep. So I recall when I didn't do my mindfulness practice diligently, which is just to stop and breathe, even if it's for 1 minute, just do nothing, sit there and just breathe, immensely helps the quality of sleep.
Yes.
And allow the thoughts to rise. Mindfulness is not about shutting down your mind to stop all the thinking, because then you get into a struggle with your mind. But rather just stop, close your eyes, breathe, and just focus on your breathing. And if there are thoughts that arise, just watch them. It's like if you sit in the park on a bench and watching everyone go by, zooming around their skateboards, jogging or running or playing, you don't get tired because you're actually not the one doing anything.
Right. Okay. So it's not so much, it's not saying to yourself, don't think of this. Don't think of that bad thing, because the more you say don't think, the more you will think about it, right? It's more telling yourself, what is happening right now? Let me observe this, or even take myself out of myself and observe myself objectively, with
Absolutely.
no assessment, no judgment, and come to just a logical kind of process, reasoning. Oh, why is this happening, and what can I do, going forward?
Yes, and you can then contemplate on the cause effect, because everything that happens has a cause. And then you begin to understand the causes before the outcomes, which have resulted in what's happening today. And you take a lot less blame. You take a lot of blame out of the equation and just understand the process.
Focusing on the cause.
Yes.
What do you mean?
So, for example, when I give talks on mindful parenting,
Yeah.
if you shout at a kid when he confesses something, and the next time he doesn't tell you the truth again,
Right.
you can't blame the kid because he has learned that by
Cause
speaking
and
the
effect.
truth,
Yeah.
he gets punished.
You've actually conditioned your child to lie.
So he may as well
Yes.
take a risk and tell a lie because he might get away with it.
Exactly.
So
Right.
mindful parenting, for example, is about rewarding the truth, regardless of the mistakes, regardless of what the situation is.
Yes.
It's better to deal with the truth. And then the child learns that it's safe to tell mommy or daddy the truth.
All right. So it's we can actually apply this particular, just this cause and effect theory or principle. We can apply that to almost everything that we experience in life. Every stressful event that occurs, we can think, what is the cause and what is the effect? And we will realize that a lot of things that happen just naturally happen because everything happens for a reason. There is a cause for this thing to happen. Let's just take again your example of almost being late. Sorry about that, but it's a very current thing. And you can think about what caused it. Maybe the meeting that you were in extended a bit long, but was it your fault? No, because you had to iron out something. So it's nothing to get really frustrated about, because things happen because things caused them to happen.
That's right. It
Yeah.
was somewhat
It's a
out
very
of my
natural
control.
process. Yes. Mm-hmm.
In short, I just didn't have enough time to complete everything I needed to before I got out the office. But I also knew that the show actually doesn't start till about 2:20, so I had a 15-minute buffer, which I used, which I may have panicked you a bit.
Yeah.
But the reality is, is to stay in the present moment and just don't get yourself worked up.
Yeah, not giving into that agitation that most of us, get into. Because when a frustrating or an event happens, we really tend to focus on the stress, on the vexation, and fail to think, more objectively about the situation and what realistically can be done about it going forward. We're chatting with Angie Chew Monksfield today about the practice of mindfulness and how it can help you to achieve a more mental wellness. Angie is founder of Brahm Centre. More information over at brahmcentre.com. That's BRAHM Centre.com. More in about 15 minutes here on 938 Live, a Slice of Life Hour. your dose of do-it-yourself motivation with me, Eugene Low, on A Slice of Life here on 938 Live today. My guest is Angie Chew Monksfield, who is the founder of Brahm Centre, a charity that promotes happy and healthy living. And the centre was launched back in 2012 with serving members with a wide range of health and mental resilience programs, counseling services, yoga classes, and mindfulness development. And mindfulness is something that's gaining a lot of momentum in the sphere of psychology these days, and it's being employed to alleviate a variety of mental and physical conditions, including obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, and the prevention of relapse in depression and drug addiction. It has gained worldwide popularity as a distinctive method to handle emotions. And in a nutshell, mindfulness is the intentional, accepting, and non-judgmental focus of one's attention on the emotions, thoughts, and sensations occurring in the present moment. And Angie, share with us some real and practical examples of how the practice of mindfulness can benefit any one of us, really.
Yes, for example, in an office, you may receive an email which is rather unpleasant. You have the immediate response that you want to hit back and maybe even say something that would make you feel really good at that moment. But mindfulness helps you to pull back and say, hey, if you're going to act on your anger at this point in time, you might really regret it. And you may have even heard in situations where people have lost their jobs or given disciplinary action because of what they've written in an email, which is not appropriate.
Yeah, or on Facebook.
Facebook, absolutely. You could lose your job and get in a lot of trouble. So how do you do that is to say, just take 3 breaths, breathe, because that immediately just stops you on the tracks and allows your mind to regain some composure. And then you can decide on your response.
Yes.
Rather than just reacting based on your emotions, which is very dangerous.
Yes.
You have seen relationships broken after many years of good friendship, or even marriages, or even your good relationship with your in-laws could just be damaged by unmindful speech. Speech which is harsh, speech which is hurting. That immediately sets back all the efforts that you've put into building a good relationship, and it just destroys it. And nowadays, with teenagers, if you've got children, it's even more sensitive because they can just leave home. And that has happened many times.
Yes. It's basically whatever that happens to you that may put you in a negative mood, not reacting from that negative place, right?
Yes, that's right.
It's just allowing you, mindfulness is a lot of things, but one of the key things is it acts as a sort of barrier. It gives you a moment to pause and to, maybe evaluate the situation,
Yes, or just don't respond at that moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Just do nothing is often a good option.
Yeah.
And when your emotions have calmed down, then your mind becomes more logical and rational on how you should deal with the situation.
Yeah.
And focus more on the solution rather than the problem.
Yes.
And maybe even making the problem bigger because you added a lot of ammunition to the situation.
Yes, we have kind of like ratchet up all the tensions by adding, fuel to the fire. We all have the tendency to do that, right? That's why we have the phrase at the spur of the moment. Very often it doesn't refer to anything good.
Yes, that's right.
Even a spur of the moment purchase. Very often after that you don't think it was a very wise decision, right? Blowing that few $1,000s on something that you really don't need.
Yes, it happens a lot when you see something you really fancy, you don't need it.
Yeah.
So it's better to just take a walk and go around the block or go home and come back the next day if you feel that that's something you can't do without for some reason.
Yeah, and that's why mindfulness is so useful and so pervasive, because it can be used in any sort of aspect that you really want to improve in your life. Even things like we mentioned, things like possessions, even things like people that you want to possess. If you really think about it very logically and very reasonably, and perhaps take judgment and emotions out of the picture, you'll realize that it's actually quite a foolish thing, to maybe yearn for something that may not be meant for you, or you cannot have.
That's right.
We get a lot of anguish. We invite a lot of anguish into our lives. Playing out all these things that we that should have been, that could have been, that ought to be.
Yes. So you might as well focus about what you can do about it now rather than what you could have done differently in the past.
Right.
So another area is probably eating. I mean, you might think that, gee, you know, we all eat every day.
Mindful eating.
Yes.
Okay.
Because how often do we really taste our food and know even how your broccoli tastes like? Because as you're chewing, you're probably talking to someone else, and you might even be getting onto the next spoonful. Did you actually taste the texture of the food and the chlorophyll flavor? You know, do you recall it? Probably not, because we're not absolutely mindful when we're eating because we're so distracted by other things. Sometimes we read the paper, sometimes we're watching TV, sometimes we're just talking. So mindful eating, if you just let your mind be with what you're doing with your mouth, would allow you to taste your food more.
Yes.
You get more mileage out of your food.
Yeah. We learn to appreciate the food more, and we won't need so much added flavor and added grease, added lard to make it, you know, I mean, a lot of us need a lot of that in order to enjoy our food, when really if we practice mindful eating and learn to really appreciate the textures, the flavors of even very simple foods, like you mentioned, broccoli, vegetables, boiled vegetables or whatever, we will learn to eat more healthily and enjoy healthy food more. I mean, people always talk about how healthy food tastes awful, but it's not true at all.
Yeah, so instead of eating a whole bar of chocolate, if you eat it more slowly and savor it, you only need to eat a quarter of the bar, and then it'll last 4 times. Right? And the other aspect of it is not to blame the food for the reason that you're getting fat, but it's because you're just over-consuming. You might not be aware of the amount of food you gorge if you just don't have the awareness. So the awareness is, okay, I'm going to enjoy my food rather than stuffing the food. And putting so much in your body that it doesn't need.
And I can see how mindfulness can lead to more contentment as well, right? I mean, more of that savoring of the simpler things in life, as it were.
Yes.
That most of us have simply forgotten how to do.
Yes. And so often for us in a job, you know, when we first get a job, we're so excited and we're happy. And then we go in there and after a few months we says, we don't like this job. Because our mind is just so focused on the negatives. So being mindful is like, okay, let's now refocus our mind on the positives. Because it's very easy for our mind to get bored and take for granted the good aspects of whatever we're doing or whatever situation we're in.
To skew whatever situation to the negative is very, you know, it's a very I mean, it's something that we do a lot as well. I mean, not just in terms of our career, to the people that we care about also in our relationships, right? I mean, the reality, to us, the reality is is how we've skewed it in the negative way by focusing on the negative things, the horrible things that this person is doing, horrible things that this person has done, instead of the good things that this person has done or is still doing, you know? So it's,
so as they say, before marriage, you focus on all the wonderful things about the person. And after marriage, you start to see their faults. Which is why a lot of marriages have in it problems where people start focusing on the negatives.
It's kind of like self-inflicted frustration, isn't it?
Yeah, because we have a mind that is untrained. This is called the untamed mind, is unable to be happy for long because it just gravitates to the negatives. Strangely, when you want to listen to music, you would choose a CD or a soundtrack that you enjoy the music. But with our mind, we seem to play the soundtracks we actually don't like. But at least if you're mindful, it says, hey, I'm doing it again. I'm replaying an event or act that it wasn't pleasant. So why am I torturing myself? Switch the track.
I like that analogy.
You have the ability to do that.
It gives you a kind of like a visual that you can think of as well, a play button, selecting the soundtrack that you want for the moment and playing that in order to make you feel better. It only seems logical.
So do a track replacement.
That's right. That's a good example there. And we're talking about mindfulness today with my guest, Angie Chew Monksfield, who is founder of Brahm Centre. It is a charity that promotes happy and healthy living, and they conduct lots of regular talks and seminars as well. And if you'd like to find out more about mindfulness, you can attend this particular talk, which is called called Applying Mindfulness in Good Health and in Illness with Mr. Oliver Ackerman. That's happening on the 25th of October, Saturday, in the afternoon at the Macpherson Community Club Theaterette at Pai Leba. Also about the science of mindfulness and the healing effects of mindfulness. Conducted by Dr. Gregor Lange, a clinical psychologist and lecturer at NUS, and also the healing effects of mindfulness by Ajahn Brahmavamso. And he's touted as one of the happiest people on earth. And he'll be sharing about how you can practice mindfulness to be, one of the happiest people on earth as well. And that's happening on the 10th of November at the Expo Max Atria. I won't give you too many details here that will boggle your mind. Simply go to either facebook.com/Brahm Centre or brahmcentre.com. Brahm is spelled B-R-A-H-M centre.com. Well, Angie, any final thoughts on mindfulness before I...
You have a choice whether you want to be positive or negative. You have a choice whether you want to be happy or unhappy. And mindfulness can help you.
Yes.
So do something about it and learn mindfulness.
Exercise that option. Choose the better and more empowering option. Thank you very much, Angie, for sharing your thoughts with us today on mindfulness. Angie Chew Monksfield, founder of Brahm Centre. And if you have something to share with me on the show as well, do get in touch via email. It's eugene@mediacorp.com.sg. I'm Eugene Low. This has been a Slice of Life hour for your dose of do-it-yourself motivation on 938 Live.